Holbrook, the executive director of the Pinhead Institute and the lucky interviewer of our mayor, Sean Murphy.
Hi, Sarah. Nice to see you as always.
How are you?
I'm terrific. How
So
are you?
lots has gone on since we last sat down. I was at the council meeting last week, and you read off, what is it, the letter from the mayor? What's the text?
Twice a year, the Telluride mayor is required under our municipal or under our charter, actually, to deliver a State of the Town address. So every 6 months, people get to put up with, whatever the summary is.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's, someone reading a single-spaced 3 or 4 page document, which isn't terribly inspiring.
Yeah.
Other times, it's a little more loose and informal.
Yeah. So I had been there to present on 2 things. We'll talk about that later. I was about to leave, and I heard your voice, and I'm like, oh, I got to go back and listen to that. And it was some good listening, I got to say.
Well, that's awfully kind of you. Thank you.
Oh, it was. It drew me back in.
Well,
so what were the highlights of the letter of the state of the town?
Of the town, they're basically 5.
Okay.
On the deed restricted housing front, as you know, and anybody who reads the Planet or listens to Kodo is probably hopefully very aware, the town has been making a lot of progress. In the last 19 months since this town council convened in November of 15, we've basically taken action on a number of housing initiatives that are going to produce they already have, or in the next 24 months, we'll see about 180 people housed in new town constructed housing.
Wow.
So that ranges from the projects we did last year, like the additional bedrooms at Shendoka, like the 8 new units at Spruce House, like the Virginia Placer, which is coming out of the ground as we speak. There's the foundation for the 12 2-bedroom apartments and the 6 studio apartments.
Wow.
And there's dirt being moved for the 46-person boarding house over there. And then I've not been as directly involved with this, but Councilperson Delaney Young, and Lars Carlson have been integral on our SMPA lot. That's the 4th corner that the town owns across from Baked and Telluride.
Sure.
And so that is where we're master planning sort of a triple play, we hope. That's parking below, 70 parking spaces. It's the AHA Schools complex, which is approximately 10,000 square feet of that building. And the rest is likely to be 10 affordable housing units.
How big will the affordable housing units be?
I think we're going to try to have 4 3-bedrooms.
Oh, wow.
And then 2 2s and a couple of 1s.
Oh, wow. So it's a big range.
It should be, yeah. We hope to have a mix as well. So, and then we've also announced 4 weeks ago now, we announced that we were going to take a strip of the RV lot, so over by Entrada, and create 15 to 20 mostly 3-bedroom townhouses there as well.
Wow.
So
that'll be deed restricted?
Yes, all of the above are deed restricted.
Okay.
So all these things require you to work in the R1 school district and not exceed a certain income threshold and asset threshold.
Is the school in addition building housing?
Yes, it is. And actually, thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, good. We'll get to the other 4 points of the state of the town.
So the town is moving forward with, due speed on housing for 180. The school, when I was at graduation a few weeks ago, Superintendent Gass confirmed to me that the school is in the planning stage now for 6 lots in Ilium that they're going to build housing on.
Okay.
And actually, very close by to that, the ski resort, the Mountain Village Owners Association is closing, or is in contract for, and will soon close on 23 more lots in Ilium. So you'll have 29 lots with some active housing coming out of the ground in the next 2 years in that location. And then also, as we know, the ski resort has been working diligently to rehab the Telluride apartments up in Mountain Village.
Okay.
And so they hope that by this fall, they'll be finished with that, and that'll be housing for another 75 to 80 people.
Wow.
So the nice thing is, and the point of me bringing this up is not just to toot the town's horn, but the fact that the town of Mountain Village, the ski resort, and the county are all finally forging ahead, and the school district.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a perfect storm for good.
Yeah, exactly.
But in addition to housing, I mentioned parking. So we are not only going to build that lot, which will be done in 2 years at the corner across from Baked and Telluride, but that'll house about 70 cars underground.
Right.
We're also going to start a master planning process this year. In the 90s, the town council, late 90s, early 2000s, did sort of an assessment as to where would intercept parking work best in town. And now that we have a more flushed out transit network with the Goose, and we're hopefully going to have even more regional transit anyway, now's the right time to return to that process, to dust off those old sort of the old knowledge and learning
Sure.
and figure out what's the future of the Shandoka lot, what's the future of Carhenge. And so hopefully we will be able to put in place a plan at least, although it will be an expensive one, to start planning a multi-level parking facility out there.
Sure.
And the idea there is that as we have folks coming into town for certain festivals or other things, we can hopefully divert traffic over to that parking structure
Right, and just have
people
them
jump
leave
right
their
on the
car,
Galloping
yeah.
Goose.
Uh-huh.
So, and the proximity of regional, local transit to that parking is essential.
Right.
So that's what the town's up to on the parking front. So we're, at least we've got a concrete plan, no pun intended, to come out of the ground with parking spaces in the downtown core. So that'll help our merchants as well. That'll almost double the amount of parking that's available to people who are shopping, dining, stopping in the close proximity to the six-block core.
So
culture-
housing, parking, yeah.
Yep. Then we have arts and culture.
Right.
And as everybody knows, or those who've paid close attention to what Telluride Arts has been up to, Telluride Arts went through a process of an initial design. They had 3 architects, world-renowned architects who do things, including lots of museums and very high-end exhibition spaces. They narrowed that field down to 1, and actually that architect will be in town at the end of June again to start
nice.
doing community meetings and figuring out.
That's soon, end of June?
June 29th is what I
Okay,
was told.
yeah.
I believe it's from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Nice.
So
At the library or some open space,
I think
maybe
it'll
at
be at
Telluride
the Telluride
Arts.
Arts facility across
Sure.
from the library.
Yep.
So there'll be an opportunity for the community. That's one of many that will come, because as you know, we don't do projects quickly or in the
No,
dark.
no.
So everything will be open, and they will have, I'm sure, no lack of input. So the town, obviously, on that parcel, as you might remember, that was the southwest corner of the transfer warehouse project, or
Yeah.
the transfer warehouse included in the southwest corner of the Four Corners. That project was something where the developer came to us a few years back and said, hey, instead of the usual 10% land dedication, and I know this is like tons of detail, we want to give that land to a local arts organization. So instead of the town accepting that land,
Right.
which happens to lie underneath the transfer warehouse, the developer said to us at that point, and P&Z, why don't we give the following benefit? Why don't we convey the transfer warehouse as a shell, a completed shell, to this organization, and
And
you
then they
all
can
go
build
to
up.
town
Yeah.
with whatever other plan you need.
Uh-huh.
So that's exciting. Another exciting thing is obviously the Pinhead and
Yeah.
TSRC potential partnership over at the depot.
Yes,
which,
exactly.
frankly, is near and dear to every person on town council. Was very concerned about what would happen to the depot.
Right.
Because, as we mentioned earlier, AHA plans to relocate to the downtown core, to one of those 4 corners.
Right, exactly.
And so the idea that
There's
the
this
depot,
beautiful historic building that could turn over to become a single-family home or something like that, but it has been a nonprofit space for a long time now. Before that, a restaurant, and so.
So thankfully,
yeah.
you and others seem to have stepped up
Yeah,
and done the good work of.
Yeah, it's
of
mainly the board.
preserving.
It's the board of TSRC, the Telluride Science Research Center, that realized it would be great for them to have a full-time, permanent place to run a lot of their summer classes. They bring 1,500 scientists in here to Telluride every summer from end of May through middle of September, say, and they just are getting space crunched because school starts and then they can't use the school classrooms that they can when the school is empty. So they're having a real space issue, and they want to be able to kind of spread out their season throughout longer weeks so that there's more opportunity for housing and for restaurants and things like that. And so it's very good for them. We just need a classroom, but we love being paired with them. And I think we used to actually be kind of a joint entity long ago. So it's nice that we'll be back together with them. We'll share office space. We'll have a classroom there. We can run our during the school year classes there. And then, you know, Pinhead still has use of the STEM lab here in the school that we can use for our summer classes. So it should be a nice symbiotic relationship.
And how long will
kind of
that
like
take?
mistletoe and a tree. How long will that take? Well, we have to wait for AHA to move out, right? And then there's going to be some renovations. So I mean, it could be any number of years before that actually
3 years, huh?
yeah, before that move actually happens. But we're psyched about it. Yeah.
So that's another highlight in our culture and innovation climate. So we've touched on housing, we've touched on parking, we've touched on culture and innovation.
Yeah.
Another area is regional transit.
Oh, yeah.
The town is one of 3 entities involved in the Regional Transit Authority called SMART, which our voters approved last November.
Right.
And actually, on June 29th, in executive session, we will be interviewing at least one candidate for the potential executive director position.
Right, because
of
right
the
now there's an
Transit Authority.
interim SMART
Right.
director,
Amy Levick
Amy
is currently
Levick.
serving as our interim director, and she's doing a terrific job.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, if she'd want to stay, we'd be hard-pressed to say no, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But the idea has always been to bring in someone from the outside that preferably has a lot of relevant transit experience and
Right,
can
to
actually
get this
help
up and
us
running,
just,
yeah.
start off at a quick a sprint instead of from a crawl.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the good news there. So not only that, but the
And
board
sorry.
and the Citizen Advisory Committee for SMART, they are working together in order to start surveying the public. We're going to be doing a formal survey later this year.
Great.
And we're going to gather people's preferences in terms of how much more frequency would you like to Lawson Hill, what frequency increase would you like down Valley, where else should we start thinking? So
And also what
the
kind of
transit.
vehicles, and Pinhead Climate
Correct.
Institute is working very closely to try to make sure that whatever move we make becomes a move towards electric vehicles.
And thankfully, and much appreciated, you guys have already stepped up and offered to help the town offset the carbon footprint of the Galloping Goose.
Yeah.
And clearly, as we have more of a regional system, there's probably no end of work that you guys can
Oh,
help us
yeah.
with on that too.
Yeah, we're excited
And we
about
certainly
that.
appreciate that partnership.
Yeah.
And lastly, but not least, is climate.
Oh, sure.
So the town has been involved for many years in a federal effort called the Mountain Pact. And so that's a lot of mountain towns all over the western U.S. who have a lobbying presence in Washington, D.C. Councilperson Todd Brown spends a lot of time at those meetings and is very integrally involved and is the voice of Telluride within that organization, as well as our town manager, Greg Clifton. On the state level, similarly, both Councilperson Brown and Mr. Clifton have had a lot of input with Colorado Communities for Climate Action, so
Nice.
CC4CA,
Yeah.
also known as. And so CC4CA does, much like Mountain Pact lobbies on the federal level, CC4CA is involved with a lot of lobbying on the state level. I was at a meeting in Denver, for example, in February, and we had a presentation by their lobbyist, and she was one sharp lady.
Yeah.
And so she's really the voice and the advocate for us on the state level,
Right.
primarily. Then, in May, in Aspen, as you know, the mayor of Aspen invited a bunch of communities all over the state of Colorado to come, and there were some, I think, 70-some-odd communities that were represented.
Including
And-
Telluride.
Including Telluride. Telluride is one of now the original signatories to the Compact for Colorado Communities. So what is that? That's actually different than those lobbying efforts. That's a grassroots initiative where each town, and it's not like one size fits all because that's really not the way the world works.
Right.
Each of these communities, including Telluride, is asked, and we will, do a self-assessment. We'll set our own goal, and then over the next 24 months, we will report back to this committee and this action group within our state. And so this is, I think, a real opportunity for Telluride to do what Ashton Hayes has done, for
Right.
example, during Mountain Film, as Sarah will shamelessly, I'm sure, also correct me when I mess up. But we had a gentleman named Gary Charnock
Right.
who came from Ashton Hayes. He's a town councilor there, and he was responsible for really spearheading a group of local citizens to take individual action, and
Yeah.
they've reduced their climate footprint by like 30%.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I will say, I don't think he's a town council person. I think he's just a regular guy, because I think part of the story is no
I think
politicians.
he started off as a regular
Okay,
guy,
and then
but
perhaps
then he
now he is,
ultimately
yeah.
became
Yeah.
whatever they call their counselors.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure about
yeah,
that, but okay.
But it's funny because he started just by meeting with people in the pub and things like that, right? Oh
And
wait,
now
we
they're
have-
gonna buy the
we-
pub, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we have a semi-expert in the room, Wiley Holbrook. Was he a council person or was he not? Okay, but whatever, it's a
We'll verify that
citizen-led.
fact,
Yeah,
and in
exactly.
another
We'll get
month
back
we'll
in the
get back
next.
to
Yeah,
you.
but so basically, it's a citizen-led program to try to bring your town climate neutral, and that's what you think that we're going to work towards with Telluride as well.
So our idea is, since 2009, when our town government started setting goals in terms of our town and our community, we, the town, have now secured enough carbon offset credits to basically neutralize the carbon that the town uses.
The
bad
town
news is,
government.
though, the town government
Right.
is only like 3% of our entire energy usage or footprint generator in this community. So the idea is, okay, now that we've sort of made progress on the town level, this effort needs to spread.
Yeah.
And it needs to be people taking advantage of, for example, the Eco Action Partner Green Lights program, which goes on until July 11th this year.
Right, it was extended. Yeah.
So our hope is that each person in his or her own sort of fashion, whatever budget or whatever individual action that person would like to take, reaches out to neighbors, reaches out to organizations like Green Lights or Eco Action Partners.
Right,
that can
and
help
so
them,
you can find
or do
Eco
an energy
Action
assessment
yeah,
of your own home.
Right, exactly. You can find Eco Action Partners on the web, right? It's ecoaction.org or something like that. But they're the ones that run the Green Lights program, which is you registering to order energy efficient light bulbs in your home.
Right.
Yeah.
And they also, for businesses, and this is very important because they don't really have the participation they would like or that any of us would like to see yet from the business community, you can call them. And they will come and do a free initial assessment for you
nice.
and explain to you what you can do within your own business. Because as Councilperson Brown is fond of stating, one of our biggest energy losses is commercial buildings.
Oh, sure.
And so their footprint happens to be a little larger than some of our homes.
Right.
So not that we shouldn't do what we can in our own homes, but we also need to be conscious of how do we help other members. And that's very much like the Ashton Hayes story,
Right.
where they decided to, look at this as a multi-lateral effort, both businesses as well as individuals,
Right.
and also creating more pedestrian-friendly environments, which we
Right.
can always.
Which would be great if you fix the lot up there and then people can leave their cars there and then it becomes much more of a walking town than a driving town.
Ideally, that's
Yeah.
would be nice.
Yeah, and I guess the county is also building an intercept parking lot out at Lawson.
They are. That should be ready in approximately 1 year. Smart and Lynn Black from the county, from San Miguel County, gets credit. This has been her baby from a number of years, and finally it's coming to life. They're master planning right now a facility that may or may not include restrooms as well. So
I'm pretty sure it's going to include an electric car charger.
It should.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I think
At
they're
least
pretty
one.
forward. Yeah, exactly. I
Yep.
think they're pretty forward thinking that way.
So, and then lastly, on the climate front, those are the 5 initiatives or the 5 updates for town. The town actually decided at our last meeting that we would also join a Mayor's National Action Committee. So there are 323 communities now. Strangely enough, when President Trump announced withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord,
that made everybody more
it went
active.
from about 200 and some odd, very low 200s to almost mid 300s now.
Wow.
So in effect, these are communities who say, you know what, we don't really care what the national government is doing or not doing.
Right.
We're going to try to adopt and live by the Paris standards as well as we can locally.
Yeah.
So that is, frankly, when you look at those 323 communities now whose mayors have said that, including the town of Tellurides now, you have 65 million people of the 300 and some odd million people who live in this country.
Wow.
So it's a critical mass.
Yeah.
And it's big cities. The founders of this were Mayor Garcetti from Los Angeles, the mayor of Houston, her name escapes me at the moment, and Michael Nutter, the former mayor of Philadelphia.
Wow, so it's
So
big cities getting
It
involved
is.
as well.
So it's not just tiny little villages, it's true big footprints too.
Right.
And hopefully their initiative there is, again, it's more of a localized effort. What can you do to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions based on, from your history?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's the state of the town of Telluride.
Yeah.
So we're basically moving full steam ahead on those 5 areas. Those 5 areas, in my opinion, correspond to really our core values.
Yeah.
And so, as I said at the end of the address, someone said to me recently, show me your policies and I'll show you your values.
Yeah.
And if we look at our policies, I would say that our policies show our values in action.
Right,
So,
exactly. Yeah. Well, that's kind of a great summary. Could we just leave it there? Is there something
Of
else you
course.
want to talk about?
No, I think that's
Yeah,
that's
right?
sufficient for
I
now.
think I got the letter
I
from
just
the
think
mayor.
everybody should enjoy the
Yeah.
rest of the summer season. We have a
Yes.
number of festivals coming up, and so I think we're basically in a good place, and we'll hopefully have a safe and very happy summer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's leave it
Thank you,
there.
Sarah.
Thanks so much,
All
Mayor
right.
Sean.
It's a pleasure as always. Thank you.
Take
Thanks.
care.